Hello and welcome to my channel, Tech with Martin Stenhold. And Martin Stenhold is my name. Coming from Sweden, so excuse my English. This channel is about all IT tech, right now, cloud. And please subscribe, like, and please comment if you. I really like some feedback around this. And the last episode we did was PHP web app in Azure. So today will be a little bit more advanced. We try to do an again a web app, but this time it will be WordPress with of course a MySQL database in the bottom. And we also try to do it a little bit more secured, and therefore we have this setup. We have one virtual network, and we have the web app in one subnet called web app subnet, and we place the MySQL database in one subnet, so they are separated, and so that the Azure MySQL server is not exposed over the internet. It's only exposed inside this subnet, dedicated subnet for the database. I have already prepared an admin jump post to be able to administrate the database, and using Bastion to connect that via the Azure Blade. So let's start. And since I already had a jump post and already Bastion network, we will start to create two subnets for the app services for the website, and one for, so to say, the SQL server, MySQL. So back to the admin blade. Let's select my virtual network that I have prepared. So this virtual network is have a address space 10.1.10.1.0.0 with subnet mask 22. So I will have place for 4 subnets with 24 mask. As you see here, you already have my subnet for the jump post. We'll have one Bastion subnet as well. So let's start with the other subnets we need. The first one we need is the web app subnet, and that will be in 10.120. Save that. And the second one is the database subnet, DB subnet, and let me take the 3 subnet address space that are left, 10.130. Create that. So now we have the 4 subnets up created. So it will look like, really should be like this then. 4 subnets, one for the app services, one for the MySQL database, one for my admin jump post, and one for Bastion to access the jump post in a secure way. So next step, let's create the app services, and select my already created resource group that put all these resources that are needed for this web app. We will have it as an PHP. We have it in Western Europe. It's closest to me. And we need the good website name. So usually these are unique, so usually have my initials. So web app and WordPress. Yeah, this is a unique name and always hard to find if just typing test or dev. There will never be any free name for that. I will have the premium SKU size for this, and it's up to you if you like to have more. Of course, there's different sizes and different cost as well. But since we are doing this in just a test, this is enough for this. Deployment. We don't need deployment, and monitoring. We wait for that and create. So let's create that. And we create the web application. Okay, it's created. We can go to resource directly. So now it's up and running. And first thing we like to do is actually do the network configuration. We would like to have it on that subnet we were talking about later on, dedicate the subnet for the app services. So go to networking and do a VNet integration and add that virtual network to the website or the web app services. So we take our subnet or virtual network and then select the dedicated subnet that we have created for the web app services, like that. Usually it takes some time, and there it is. So now we should have that created, and we have put the app services in the correct subnet. Okay, let's go back, and now this is green. And after that, let's connect to it via SSH. So what we try to do here is to download, so to say, the WordPress application and install it. Hopefully it's up and running. Let's see. Should be. Okay, there we have it. And then we go into the site directory, uv root, download the latest WordPress release. Like that. And then we unpack that in the folder. Sorry. And it's a subfolder called WordPress. Okay, the unpacking was done, so let's move the WordPress directory into our web root. And we also don't need, so to say, the WordPress directory anymore. We can also remove the packed WordPress file. So now we have in the root directory our WordPress site. So before we start to configure that, let's create a database. And the next step, create our MySQL database. So go back and we select Azure Database for MySQL servers. That is the fully managed MySQL database server. So it will create everything for us, and I select to do a flexible server that you can grow if you want later on. And what I really like in this creation in Azure, that we really see the cost directly here. I wish they had done that for more services, that you can see directly what the cost is. We create our database in our resource group for web apps that we created before. You need to have a unique name, so that's always the hardest part to select that. So in my case, I take my initials 001, and that was free, and we create that in West Europe. Here's for me. Yeah, as this is just a development test, so select the development, then you can also select production, and then of course the cost goes up and down depending on that. You can also go in and configure your server with more specific IOPS and database storage, and how many cores and CPU cores you like to have. After that, you can select the versions, and then you just create an admin account, and of course a complex password for that. So that is the admin account to access the database. So the next thing, go to configure the network setup for the database. And here what I like to do a little bit different. As default is publicly access on the internet. You need to specify, of course, which IP addresses you like to have it to access it, but it's, so to say, open on the internet. What I like to do is put it on this DB subnet, so it's only lives here with no opening to the internet at all for the database server. So select the private access instead. The virtual network that we have before is this one that contains our subnets, and it selects actually the subnet that are free, that don't have any other services tagged on it. So it will delegate that subnet for MySQL flexible servers. Of course, you can have more servers on it, but it's dedicated for that later on if you want to have more MySQL servers on it. It also creates an DNS entry, private DNS entry that only lives on your virtual network. So that's how we access it. And after that we just create it, and it takes some time. You finally got to this page and you see the total cost of 150 Swedish crown or 15 euros per month for this size. Okay, and there also some kind of free trial if you like to use that. Great. And then we wait for Azure. Okay, MySQL database is created. It takes some time, so to say, so I fast forward this. So go to the source. We have it here, and it's started and running. Here we have the URL to access it. We have the admin account for it. And yet, let's see if we can connect to it. So I have my jump post up running here with my MySQL client on, and we take the URL that is here, the server URL, and connect to it. Our admin user account, you can also access it here, and then specified password will be prompted. But first, to do this, I like to lower the security a little bit, just to disable SSL temporarily, to make it a little bit easier to configure. Also the WordPress wizard will also work with that. So to do this, I will change the server parameters here, and there is a secure parameter called require secure transport, and now it's on, so it's forcing SSL. So just switch it off temporarily when we do the WordPress configuration and create the WordPress user for the database. And this will take also some time. Now it's much easier than before, so that's okay. So now we should be able to connect to it. Okay, it's wrong in copy and paste there, but now it works. So now we're in the MySQL DB client. So let's create a database first that we would like to use, and nothing fancy, just the database WordPress DB. And then we create a WordPress user. This will be the user that, so to say, connects from WordPress. Create that with the password, and we grant the privilege for that. Okay, so now we have a database, we have an WordPress user, and we'll have lowered the security in the WordPress database. So now we should be able to go back to our app service, this one, and we should be able to connect to it now. So let's take a new server tab, open up it, and voila, we have our database signing in. Select English. We need the database name, username, password, and host. And we have that since we have the database name, sorry, we have the username WordPress, we have our password, and the database host was this that we had before here, this one, the server host name, and table prefix. If you want to run more than multiple WordPress, you can have different table prefix, of course. And then we start the installation. And after that, let's have an site name, test site, example. My name, have a good password. And then install. And of course I can have an email address here as well, but in this case I will start without. I'm sorry, we need to have an email address, of course. And I will put a test. Just to test it. Okay. And now the WordPress installation should start. And if everything goes well, we should have an WordPress site up. Let's see, log in. And our password for that. Voila, WordPress up and running. And let's now also secure the database, and also as well as see if that will work. That will be some configuration in the WordPress configuration to do that. So let's start do that. We do an SSH again from the web app to access the web server, and we change the VP config to be able to have an SSL connection. So I have some, let's see, paste in some configuration code here. Force the SSL connection, and this is standard configuration from WordPress. And the last, since it's a self-signed certificate here, we can also have this. Okay, let's save that. See if that did go in. Yes. And after that, we will stop the website, go into our SQL database in the server parameters, and find that configuration parameter that requires secure connection and put that on. Save the configuration. Let us wait until that is forced and done. and after that we will start the web. Okay, hit save, and we go back, start our WordPress site again. Let us wait a few seconds until it is fully started. Hopefully we will have a page here coming up. It could take some time until it started. Okay, here we have. So yeah, it's working now. We have a secure connections, and yeah, start to add, so to say, content to the WordPress site. So to summarize this, we have a WordPress site running in an app services with PHP in a separate subnet for the web server. We have the MySQL server here in a separate subnet, and we have a jump post for configuration with Bastion. And only one thing is exposed to the internet, is that the website, so to say, with a public IP address. So I think that's all for this episode, and hopefully it could be useful to set up a WordPress site in Azure with a little bit more secure setup. So again, please subscribe, comment below, and thank you for this. Bye.